Today on Racing Legends podcast, I have my lovely friend Forrest Boyce, fresh off her win in the Maryland Million Classic on Barbadian Runner. I haven't seen Forrest in a while, but I'm always glad when she wins a big race. Forrest, great to hear from you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Well, of course. Well, let me reintroduce people that may have been living in a cave over the last 10 years and don't know who you are. Um, you've been riding, I think, since the late, like 2007 or so, and you have more than 1,000 wins, 1,086, over $40 million in purses. Even this year, 2.3 million as of October 20th. Off to another solid year. Last 2 years have been great for you. Um, and I think that was your 13th Maryland Million win, Forrest?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay. That's for us racing fans. Anyway, just an amazing record. Let's talk a little bit about Barbadian Runner. When I watched the race, and I haven't been following that closely anymore, but it was funny when I opened up the form and I saw his form. He didn't run like he looked in the form. Usually when horses stretch out, they don't kick like that very late. That was a very interesting the way he ran, and post time got through. The overwhelming favor got through on the inside. So usually you'd figure he'd be able to outfinish you, but you just blew him out the last half furlong. You just blew that horse out. Talk about this horse and the trip that you got.
Oh yeah, I thought actually the race set up perfectly for us. They were going pretty slow on the front end. There was only one like true speed horse, and to be honest, I was most worried about him because I thought he was going to have it all his way and just get clear of us all at the end. Um, and fortunately, we were able to stick close enough to him, and when they go slow like that, you know if you're on a good enough horse, they can kick, and luckily it all worked out.
Yeah, that horse on the front end didn't give up easily. I mean, he fought until the final 16th of a mile.
Yeah, yeah, and as he should. Like he set a nice, easy pace, and I thought that was like a good race across the board. Like it was nice that they all were kind of right there.
Yeah. So did you know you had a lot of horse left? Because oftentimes when a horse is picking up other horses, it's just because the horses in front of you are getting tired more quickly than you are. But it looks. Did you know that you had a lot of horse? Because I was really surprised at the kick that you had late.
I, to be honest, I was a little bit shocked the way he kicked that last 16th. He was grinding it out, and then when post time kind of came up to him a little bit, he kicked on, and I mean that also shocked me a little bit. He's a gritty little horse, so you
Yeah,
know,
I
looking
think
back, that's kind of what he did at Charlestown. Like, I mean, he's tough, you know.
it's very strange. But congratulations again. Now Henry Walters, a guy he's a respected conditioner, has been like that for many years. He's never been like a high profile guy, kind of one of these guys that works in the shadows, just does a great job for his clients. What's Henry like to work for? You went. I don't remember you riding a lot for Henry over the years.
I haven't written a lot for him. My agent picked this horse out last winter when Barboza was leaving for Fairgrounds. He's like, we need to try to get on this horse. He really liked the horse. And I've known Henry a long time, and Henry does a phenomenal job. And I don't know how many big horses he's had, but the way he's handled this, it's like he might as well have had 100 big horses. He's been very even keel. I think he's, been very smart about where he places the horse. Um, he's done a phenomenal job with this horse.
Yeah, I think he's an underrated conditioner. When I used to have horses years ago with Crystal, I think Crystal was in his barn, and she told me he was a really smart guy. And it's always so interesting because there are folks, guys and gals at the track that do an amazing job, but the horses tend to go to the same four or five people anyway.
Yeah, and it's like just like us, like they just need opportunities. And this horse, I think, has given Henry that opportunity, and he's shown everybody what it's nice that Henry's been able to show what he's capable of. some people you give them a good horse and they get nervous and you know they kind of want to do things that they wouldn't normally do, and it's kind of cool to see Henry just you know it doesn't seem to phase Henry, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty even kill. Well, that's great. Congratulations again. Now, look, when you win a big race like that, you're pretty much a known known quantity. Everyone thinks you're great. You're very talented, good or bad. You're known as a turf rider. I know you're going to give me a hard time for saying that. When you win a race like that, does it change your life at all, or because you're an established veteran, your business is kind of like your business?
Yeah, I'd say at this stage my business is my business for the most part. And this sport is, yeah, what have you done for me lately? Like, will other people maybe give me an opportunity that I haven't in a while? Yes, like that might happen. Um, but for the most part, you know, I'm a fully cooked turkey. Like what we have is, who rides us typically is who rides us.
Is it any sweeter for you as a turf rider? Is it any sweeter when you win a dirt stake and you show folks, hey, this is I know it's the turf course is closing. It's winter time's coming. I'm still here.
Yeah, it's a little, I've been pigeonholed as this turf rider, and I grew up working for, Dickie Small, and I won a lot of stakes on the dirt for him. I'd be curious what my stat is in dirt stakes versus turf stakes. I think it has to be somewhat even. Um, just given the people who brought me up and gave me opportunities. Uh,
Yeah. You
yeah,
know,
I'm not just a turf rider.
exactly. Well, many years ago, and I've shared this with you before, I did these elaborate statistics on riders, and I still do them for Gulfstream. I just haven't kept them up in Maryland because they take a lot of work. But when I used to analyze your performance, you were no different on dirt to turf. Now, a little bit of what I'm doing is also based on how the public perceives you. So even if you're better on turf,
Yeah,
the fact that you're even, it's because the public is betting you more on turf than they would on dirt. They kind of underrate you on dirt. But I was surprised how consistent you were on both from the bettor's point of view, and also how great a sprint rider you were. And I think you're probably perceived as the person who's going to win that mile and eighth race on Colonial Downs on a nice turf horse.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I feel like I'm pretty even across the board. But yes, you're right. People picture me as you're running a mile and a half. I'm your girl. But yeah, I'd
yeah,
say like I like it all. So I feel
yeah.
like I'm not one of those riders that prefers the turf to the dirt. I'm happy whatever surface. I'm happy to ride over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever the horse wants to do. So
Yeah, and I will tell those owners out there, if you do have a horse and put force on horses, she does talk to you and she does even, she knows you exist. So that is a benefit with putting force on horses. And I will also say you're a very good jockey out of the gate. And I don't know if it's because of whether you sit the way you sit or just the way you warm them up, but I always felt like your horses come out of the gate really cleanly, which to me is probably one of the most important things a jockey can do.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, it is important to get a clean break.
yeah,
Um, you know,
yeah.
because
Um,
that's ground that you don't want to give up that ground.
No, exactly. If you're already in the race, you can relax a little bit. If you're playing catch up from the very beginning and even trying to get position off the pace where you can get in striking range, it's very hard to win races like that. If you're already there, then you can. To me, you have options. But anyway, it's that's cool. So let's talk about the racing game generally. You've been doing this for a while, even though you're a very very young rider. You're like 26 now, Forrest. 26 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how do you deal with the negativity in the sport? We have, like, for example, Laurel's closing, which is really strange to me because I live in Northern Virginia. That's kind of where I went to the races, and so many winter circles photos with you, and other folks that are so important to me. But you lose that building and all that history. And then we're going to a new Pimlico, which sounds exciting if it comes off. You have the HISA regulations. There is negativity in the sport. How do you deal with the negativity? You seem to be always pretty upbeat. Is it hard to deal with the negativity in the sport?
Oh, definitely there are times where it just gets to you, but I've come to learn you just gotta let it all go, and what will be will be. I'll believe all of it when I see it. The what they're doing at Pimlico is changed, 30 times since it was initially talked about at least. Uh, you know, we're at Laurel for now. Who's to say Laurel goes? like I, I've learned you can't worry about it until it actually happens. Because
Yeah,
everybody has great laid plans, and like bringing them to fruition. It's just not just in racing. I mean, it's with the government. It's with everywhere. Like trying to get stuff done. It's always easier said than done.
yeah, exactly.
Time will
As a,
tell.
what's that? Did I miss you?
Is it time will tell?
Yeah, time will tell. Yeah. Well, as a Baltimore native, are you generally supportive of having this world class facility in the heart of Baltimore?
It'd be great for Baltimore. I love Baltimore. I was raised in the area. I think it gets a pretty bad rep. Uh, I think, but I think it's good. Like the Preakness, like people loved coming to the Preakness in Baltimore. Like the trainers, it has a good vibe. It has good energy, and uh, you can do all you want, but they consistently created good energy year after year, and there's something to be said for that. And I think that's you know part of Baltimore's charm.
Yeah, and I wonder if
And so I personally look forward to coming back to
yeah,
Baltimore.
I do too. I do wonder if um, too much of it is a good thing. I mean, I think one of the reasons why we like the charm is because we'd go there for these relatively short meets. So it was new, and then when we go there, it brought back all these memories of the golden years. So I think there was that, and I wonder, do we lose that if we're always there? It's just like one day we wake up and we're like, we're just in North Baltimore. So, uh, but I don't know. Let's be
Yeah,
up.
I personally don't see how it. Go ahead.
No, you first. Yeah.
I personally don't see how you race there year round. Just because the majority of racing in this country is turf racing. 2/3 of the year. Especially up in the Northeast. Um, and so you need to Pimlico only has the one turf course. Now they're saying they're not redoing the track, and so with that, I I think you're gonna have to have another option if you're wanting to have quality racing year round. I've always believed that Pimlico would be a great place to be, in the winter time. Like that track is a smaller track. It seems to handle the weather pretty well. It sits up high, it's on the ground, it drains well. Um, you know, I think there's things that could be worked out where it's a win for everyone involved.
Yeah, I don't think we could be wed to the rest of our lives being in Pimlico, but we'll see. It's so hard to get anything done and get things passed. So I'm sure they're just trying to do the best they can, or you would hope. So speaking of winters in Baltimore, you did spend some time in Fairgrounds where I remember you telling me you love the food down there. And, it's probably pretty cool to be in New Orleans in the wintertime. Uh, do you miss the days where you travel? I know you got other business ventures that you work on. You have an antique store with your grandmother, I believe, or your aunt. But do you miss the days where you travel and try different meats in other parts of the country?
Yes, the problem with traveling is it's hard to get going back here.
Yeah.
Um, it's like if you, that's the issue I found. Uh, like I did well that when I went to New Orleans, I was in the top 10. And when I came back, it took me about 6 months to get my business going back here again.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what's prevented me from going that far out of the realm again. Maybe at some point I should try going somewhere else on the East Coast where the business kind of overlaps a little bit more,
Mhm.
but we'll see.
Yeah. So you're not against it. Do you enjoy the change of seasons? Do you like when it's fall, or do you worry? Again, a little bit less turf opportunities upcoming.
Change of seasons. Because there's other things I do, like other horse sports that I participate in that like they kind of ramp up at this time of year.
Hmm.
And so I can do that as well as racing, which is nice.
Yeah. What
So it all kind
sports?
of works out.
Yeah, it works out. What sports? What other? I know I follow you on Instagram, so I see some of the stuff. But what other equestrian type stuff are you involved in?
So I do a bit of like horse showing and hunting and stuff. And the hunting really gets going at this time of year.
Hmm.
So it kind of all works out well.
Yeah. Now, I know I should know this, but I've never asked the question. I've always acted like I knew what that was. What exactly is hunting? Is it just like you're hunting foxes, or what does that mean? Because I've been hearing that for years, and I've never been brave enough to actually ask what it means.
Ch- Chasing coyotes or foxes.
Oh, so it's really
Um,
it's really hunting.
we very Yeah, we're hunting them, but we typically don't catch them.
Oh, oh.
Uh, the foxes are very clever, which makes them hard to catch. And the coyotes are so fast. Um, so we typically like put them to ground, which is where they go back into their hole.
Hmm.
A lot of them can, if they don't want to be hunted, they can go to ground right away.
Hmm.
Because there's plenty of dens around that they'll just go right to ground if they don't want to be hunted. A lot of them actually kind of enjoy it and they'll mess with us. And I do a fair bit of whipping, so it's been fun to watch. You'll kind of get to see what the fox or the coyote does. And uh, that what was that? Uh, was it the Warner Brothers or whatever had that Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner?
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of it's honestly it's a little bit like that sometimes with the coyote and the hounds and or the fox and the hounds and stuff. It's fun. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So they're never like organized events. It's just like you're hunting and you're just having fun with the animals.
Well, yeah, no, it is an organized event. Like they do it 3 days a week. Most hunts do it 3 days a week. You know, no, they're like they're recognized packs. It's it takes place like all over the country. I think out west they hunt all sorts of different stuff. I think in Florida they'll hunt boar as well as you know maybe bobcat too. I don't know. All over the country it takes place. They're hunting various things.
Wow, that's so cool. I love the outfits you guys wear. Really, it's dashing. Um, Probably no one's ever called you dashing before, Boris. But to get back to the horse racing for a bit. So
No, I haven't.
what's that? You said you haven't.
Yeah, I've never been called dashing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like the dashing outfits.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, uh, look. So you as a veteran, has your game changed much since? I mean, you won a lot of races for me. God, it's been like 15 years ago. But even 4 or 5 years ago, you're still winning races for me. Um, Are you the same rider that you've always been, or physically and mentally have you changed? My guess is you've probably gotten a little bit smarter with experience, but maybe physically your body's changed. Maybe you have to work out more. But anyway, are you the same rider physically and mentally you were like 15 years ago?
Yeah, I feel like I've been pretty damn consistent, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, somehow I think I've managed to maintain a lot of consistency through all of that. I don't think it, I think you learn something new every day. So I do think I've grown in that way. But like Maryland Million Day, I rode 9 races in a row. So
God,
I'd
that's so
say,
so
I
crazy.
hadn't done that in years. And the last one was the one I won, and I was third on a couple 2 year olds. And so, like, yeah, I think I'm physically the same rider I was as well.
Cool, that's great business. No wonder why I haven't gotten any texts asking when am I going to claim a horse. You're busy. That's a big day for anybody. And do you how about
Yeah.
in the way you interact with owners and trainers? Have you gotten you're always pretty blunt, but obviously you got to be diplomatic sometimes. Have you changed in how you talk to people around the track?
A little more blunt with age, which is not a great thing. I should I should definitely sugarcoat things a little more. I'm not great about that. I think some people appreciate my honest, like my frankness and my, what I perceive as, you know, honesty. Other people don't, and so it kind of works out that works with who uses me and who doesn't.
Yeah, that was one thing I always thought was interesting, how the riders would talk to you and the owners, and then how they would talk to the trainer when the owner wasn't around. It was there's little things that you learn over time, and then I think I was such a familiar face. Maybe some the riders would treat me more like someone who may know what he's thinking, but you never know. You never want to do anything to piss the trainer off and get the trainer in trouble. So I know you have to be careful about the fitness of the horse and those kind of things. Um, how about with HISA? You were never a huge like whipping a million times thing. Does that change your rhythm and how you work a horse when you have to limit the number of whips you have to six?
I think the I think HISA has done some good, especially with that the whip rule. Because I don't think a horse needs to go out there and be hit a bunch. Um, I'm glad we have the whips that we originally had, the Pro Kush kind of whips. They're kind, they're what's used around the world. I think we have a few less strikes than what the rest of the world has. But all in all, like I think that was good for horse racing on a whole to limit that because there were people, I've seen riders get frustrated and take their frustration out on horses. And, that's never a good thing. And the public doesn't need to witness that. And so I'm glad there's things in place to keep that from happening.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think it changes the results at all when you limit racing? I frankly don't. But how about you? I mean, you're on the horse. Do you think if all the riders have like for example, Hector Barrios, who I think is a fantastic rider, he doesn't use a whip very much. He shows the horse to whip often, but then he'll just save it for one or two in a deep stretch, and he's very good at using it. So any whip rule won't change him that much. I don't remember you being a huge whip person either. I never felt like that's, I mean, you used a whip if you had to try to win, but I never felt like you overly relied on it. But do you think it changes the game and makes it changes the result of the races at all?
Of course it does.
Oh, you think it does? Oh,
I've ridden the odd horse over the years that likes it,
mhm.
and they really respond to it. And I remember there was a horse for Dickie, and that thing wanted it, and like that's the only way he'd run. Like he probably wouldn't break his maiden today if with the rules that we have in place.
Yeah.
Because you could smooch to him, you could do everything else to encourage him, and he would not. Like he was like, man. But the minute you did, he would go each time you encouraged him with the stick, he would try harder and harder. And there is the odd horse out there that likes it, like because if they don't like it, they'll stop running. So there's also the odd horse out there that doesn't want to be hit at all, and so you kind of just all you can do is show it to them. Horses will let you know
Yeah.
what they like.
Exactly. When you look around at the folks in the jocks room, has the competition changed? I mean, one of the things I would have said 5 years ago was when I got in the game, there were a few Latino riders in Maryland, and now there was a time when almost most of the riders are Latino or good or Latina or a good number of them. But anyway, so the demographics may have changed over the years, but in terms of how people ride, or even maybe the relationships in the jocks room, have things changed for jocks?
I think it's pretty much the same as it's always been, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's nice. Like right now, we have this one good bug rider that's coming along, and he like it's fun to have. It's been a long time since there's been a bug rider like him around, so that's kind of been fun seeing someone with that kind of potential develop in our area. That his name's Yezet Hazelwood. I don't know if you paid any attention to him.
Mm-mm. Yeah, definitely should, huh? Yeah, it's always nice. Maryland used to be
Yeah,
known.
yeah. No, it's been fun watching him come along. He's wicked.
What
Yeah,
makes
we
a
used to be known for producing a lot of good riders. Um,
yeah? Can you tell like you were
huh?
a successful bug, but your life didn't change much. You were also a successful journeyman. I would say most bugs, even the ones that do well, they don't make it. They don't necessarily come back to the same level when they become journeymans, and often they leave. I could name so many hot bugs over the years. Can you tell the ones that are going to have staying power, or it just all depends?
Yeah, a lot of them like they have their bug and then it like kind of fades. This kid, I think he's gonna have a solid career.
Right. So
I
you
mean,
can tell.
he's riding very well.
Right. So there,
And I
there's a
think he
difference.
he won. Yeah, I mean he won a couple stakes with Maryland Million Day. Like it's always good when you're winning stuff without the bug, because bug riders don't get the weight in stakes. So that was good.
Is it more of a physical thing or a mental thing? Like when you know a guy or gal is going to be successful, is it more they got something mentally that they're tough? Like like Edgar Prado, he would just ride everybody's race for him. He knew he was such a smart rider, but he was good physically too. But he was so smart. You were definitely a very smart bug as well. But generally, is it a combination of it, or is it more physical? Like this person just has the hands for it, or is it more of it's a mental thing that they have the frame of mind of a great rider?
He has the frame of mind. I think, he definitely has to work out some kinks, but he's the smartest one I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and being the smart one is
He seems to get it.
yeah, and that's
He
you
positions
think
his horses well.
Mhm. Right. I'm sorry, I interrupted, but the mental part is just as important as the physical part, right? Or even more important in general, not just for this rider, but generally.
In my opinion, the mental part's more important than the physical part because there's plenty of riders out there that like they look great on the horse, but they do some stupid stuff and they'll get themselves beat. And if you have someone that's smart, eh, at least your horse is getting every opportunity to win. Um,
Yeah.
and this kid has, like he's physically good as well. But I think I truly think what separates you is having the mental bit. Because like a lot of these bug riders, they look good physically. They look good out there. It's just they can't position them well enough. Like they'll make the same mistake over and over again. You know, things like that.
Yeah. I've seen that happen before on horses that I've owned, and even more so horses that that I've wagered on. Well, look, just a couple more questions, and I'll let you go. I always appreciate your time. I remember, let's say, 20 years ago or so, a jockey like yourself wouldn't necessarily have to gallop horses. Others would gallop, exercise riders would gallop, or whatever. You'd come out and breeze. You come out and breeze horses that you were going to ride, especially, or maybe just for like a Dick Small or a person you're riding a lot for, even if you weren't riding the horse. Are you working harder these days? Are you finding yourself galloping for trainers as well as breezing horses?
I probably should gallop more than I do because that's what everybody seems to be doing. I still kind of do it the old way. I mean, I'm happy, like when someone wants me to gallop, I'm happy to gallop their horse for them, but I'm like, you're gonna get the Dicky Small gallop. Like the horse is gonna have to get comfortable and rate itself. Just because that's the way I was brought up
Hmm.
galloping horses. So, uh, I think people are smart not to have me gallop too often. But it's interesting, you deal with the New York guys and talking to people that ride up there, and they're like seldom like they're old school. They seldom have the jockeys, from what I hear, gallop the horses. They come in to work horses, which was the way it kind of always was. I don't know.
Does that help you stay fit galloping, or does it make you more tired? Is it going to be a good thing for your riding, or does it maybe it can make you a little bit tired in the afternoons?
The only way to be racing fit is by riding races. Like
Mhm.
I do other things. I run. I ride a ton of horses a day. If I'm not at the track, I'm getting on horses up at the farm. So I'm riding all day long. Does that help a little bit? Yeah, but racing fitness is completely different than any other type of fitness. So the only way to truly get racing fit is by going out there and riding races.
Forrest, when you say you ride at the farm, is it one farm? Is it a friend's farm? Is it your own farm, or do you go somewhere in particular, ride?
I got my parents have a farm and
Oh, that's
they
right.
have a bunch of horses there, which I get on for them.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I
And like
forgot.
I'll help the hunt club out. Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, look, this is great. I'm so appreciative of your time as always. Last question, and I should have asked you this earlier, but I'm dying to know when you're to get back to the Maryland Million Classic. Um, when would you were the second choice in that race, but you were 6-1. Would you rather have one horse to beat that's an overwhelming favorite, or would you rather have like an 8 horse field, kind of even when like you're 7-2, but you have a couple others to worry about. Is it easier when you have a target in mind, or it really doesn't matter? Because you mentioned earlier that even though post time was the overwhelming favorite, you were just as concerned as the horse in the lead because of the pace of the race. So anyway, generally, would you rather have a target, a overwhelming favorite, or would you rather be a wide open field?
To me, you have to beat however many are in the field. This is racing at the end of the day, and
Uh-huh.
everything changes when the gates open. Um, so yeah, there might be an overwhelming favorite, but he might be having a bad day, and a couple of others might be really coming into themselves. So you really have to read the race as it's developing.
Mhm.
Um, when you're out there, see, you know, who's doing well and who isn't. Go from there.
So a rider, you're not necessarily looking for post time. So when you're in the stretch and you're going towards the lead, um, you're not looking for post time. You're looking for anyone that might come up. So you've kind of thrown away the racing form. At that point, you're just riding your race. Force I lose you?
Yeah, at that point, you're like when I'm in that race, and when you're at that point in the race, you are worried about post time because he's the overwhelming favorite. You know he's coming running, but you can't discount the fact that there isn't another horse that might come running, right? Because we've all seen it where like some 30-1 shot upsets, you know, a big race.
Yeah.
So yes, when I was in that race and I tipped out, I had I wanted to go out and I wanted them to go in, and luckily that's the way it all worked. And uh, that's, you have to be worried about that horse because he's the overwhelming favorite for a reason. Like he's a lovely horse. Brittany's done a great job with him. He deserved to be 8-5 or what I don't know what his final odds were, but he deserved to be.
Yeah. And is there any difference in the winner's circle if you won the race on a 6-1 for Henry, or if you won on everyone's favorite 1-5? Is there any difference how the win feels, or it feels is there a feeling of relief when you win on a 1-5, or it's the same whether you win on a 6-1 or a 1-5?
It's all the same. A win's a win.
Yeah.
It feels good whenever you, in my opinion, like, every win's important. And, it's important to whoever the owner is and the trainer, and, the groom and everyone involved. So
Yeah. Well, that's
it
great,
shouldn't be
Forrest.
discounted based on odds or the price of the race.
Exactly. I mean, a win is a win. I'm always giving you a hard time about ways that you wronged me over the years. So I am going to end by telling a really good force story. We because I always tell the Penn National story when you blame me for a loss. But I do remember one day we had Lady Outflanker still, had her forever, and she went up to Penn National. I was on a flight that day, so I really couldn't watch it live, but I talked to you in the morning, and I said to you, I said, Forrest, this horse runs really even. I think you're going to have to send this horse a million miles an hour at the lead, and then let someone else take the lead and just sit there. Once she starts cruising, you'll do it. And so I got on the airplane, and I just forgot all about it for the time being. When I landed, I watched the replay without knowing that we won. You rode that horse to perfection. We won by a nose, and you wouldn't have won. The pace was so slow, and the fact that you had her up there is the reason why we won. You just did it to perfection, and it was just so funny because I have a video of that race, and I just happened to watch it the other day, and I was just like, man, I give Forrest a hard time, but she gave me so many rides, so many great rides. So anyway, I wanted to end by thanking you for always riding so well for me and putting up for me because I know I'm not like the best loser in the world.
I don't think anyone's a good loser, but you need
Yeah.
to get a new horse.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew we
You
were
need
going
to
to
go
end
out
with
there and
that.
claim something.
But yeah, I got to claim some. But at this point, you're busy. You had 9 races on Maryland Million Day. So obviously, you're not going to have time for my $10,000 claimer.
I always have time for your $10,000 claim.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, it'll be fun. One day I will. One day I'll get back in. I'm kind of worried about this economy with this Trump stuff going on. But anyway, I don't want to piss off any more of our listeners. But look, it's been great talking to you as always. You're the best, and hope you have a successful and healthy winter season. And I hope everyone gives you a chance on their dirt horses that they were saving for the Bug Boy.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Forrest, have a good day now.